Los Angeles. Welcome to Good Morning LALALAND. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jess Moyer. This is Good Morning LaLaLand, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Now also available on Apple TV and Roku.
Today is hashtag Wealth Wednesday. We're talking about how to create balance in your life, and let's begin by knowing the truth. The truth is that our birthright is wealth, which always starts with health, our relationships, and of course, prosperity. We know the universe is always only abundant, and so I claim my birthright right now.
And so it is.
And so it is hashtag Wealth Wednesday. We have a very important guest in the house. I'm so proud to welcome to the show Mr. Ron Robinson. He is a cultural icon, fashion legend, here all the way from Fred Street on Melrose, and now in our studio. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. We have Gina Hendricks in the house. She's like this iconic, one-of-a-kind matchmaker.
Yes.
Exclusive, right?
Yes, very exclusive. I am very exclusive.
You are very exclusive. Interesting. We're
Trying to figure out my hashtags this morning. So.
in the middle of posting.
Social media.
Always grinding. We see you always grinding.
Yeah, absolutely. And the conscious lifestylist herself. So, all right. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited that you're all here. So, Good Morning LaLaLand, we like to know, how do you start your day? What's your morning routine like? Ron, let's start with you. What's your morning routine?
To the camera.
My morning routine. Well, routine is an interesting word because as much as I want it to be a routine every day, it sort of changes each day. But of course, the big part is making sure that my dog, who's asking me to feed him every morning, I'm there for him. And then I ride my bicycle to the gym, work out, and I love to just have a few moments to myself in the morning where I'm capturing what's going to happen before everything happens in business and in life.
Love it. That's so important, to take a few minutes for yourself, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, I do that with my coffee. So what about you? How do you start your day? What's your morning routine?
I have a strict morning routine. I don't want clients. I don't want anything until like after 10. So it's very much time for me, whether I'm meditating, whether I'm making time for working out. Most importantly, I would say that I'm very conscious with setting the intention that I want to feel by the time the day is over. So I sort of like project myself into the future of what I want to feel when the day is done, and then I allow the whole day to unfold as it will. And usually by the time the day is over, I've hit the same emotional alignment that I intended.
So I've got to ask you, how do you want to feel today when the day is over?
How do I want to feel? I want to feel that sort of exhausted yet accomplished feeling where you're like, okay, I can relax. I feel really confident and successful in everything that I did, and just tired enough that I can go to sleep really easily, knowing that I've shown up really powerfully, I've had success, and just, yeah, like a smooth yet slightly exhausted, but from feeling really empowered and successful.
Well, that's a very dynamic balance.
It is.
That's perfect, very fitting for the show. Gina, what's your morning routine? How do you start your day?
You know, exactly like her. I mean,
It's weird. Everything she does is what I do.
I wish I could say that. I am a slave to 5 dogs and a cat. So when I wake up in the morning, it's all, Ron knows, except he's got 1 dog. So I just basically, my morning, I would love to say it's about me and it's a lot of things, but the truth is I get up, I deal with the dogs, I do sit and read my phone, you know, usually it's like headlines. I love to read the morning headlines just to kind of keep up with what's going on, and drink my coffee. And then I take my dogs on about a 1 to 2 mile walk every morning and every afternoon. All the neighbors know me. I don't think that they think I do anything except walk my dogs. In fact, I'm sure of it. But yeah, my world starts with my dogs, and then later on, you know, after that, I move into helping people.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Love it. They know the dog walker is actually a matchmaker.
Yeah. The neighbors do think I'm a dog walker, and I am by default because I'm walking my own dogs. But
do everything with intent and purpose, right? Well, thank you all so much for being here. We're excited to talk to you more later in the show.
Awesome.
So you're getting excited to go to New York?
I'm getting so excited to go to New York, but you know, yesterday I shot LA Happy Hour with Pilar and Katina, and we had them recently on the show, and I will say we had so much fun. It was great to celebrate the community, and we were down the street at Taste on Melrose, and this morning was a little rough. I had a great happy hour. I thought, you're supposed to be like getting ready and packing my things up to New York, but yes, I will have the champagne that's on happy hour, so thank goodness for the Zaka I had this morning. Be nice to your body. It's a natural recovery supplement.
Oh, nice, little detox.
Little detox, super helpful this morning, because there's so many exciting things going on, so much to celebrate. So
So much to celebrate.
yeah, it was fun. So stay tuned. The episode of LA Happy Hour is going to come out in the next month or so.
Oh, super cool. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it'll be
that.
fun.
Awesome. What about you, Erin?
I've been working on, I do a podcast, a daily podcast, 11-minute podcast, but I'm doing a separate one that's just on Ask Erin. So it's just going to be like call-in questions and stuff like that. So I've been doing some live streaming, like writing down all the different topics. So direct message me or let me know. I also do have a call-in number also, so it's gonna be fun.
I love
fun
this
to just
idea.
do that, right?
Yeah.
Short little things, like, you know, it'll be less than 10 minutes, more like a few minutes for each one.
We've talked about that a lot. I think people are really wanting like actionable advice,
Right.
And so there's nothing better than
Funny
to do that
too,
live.
right? I think
Yeah,
it's
of
important
course.
to like deal with real issues. It's a messy thing, this thing called life. So we got a lot of, it's a dynamic. People are like, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it's like, why don't they teach us in school? Why don't they teach us like the fundamentals of like life and how it works and how our mind works? And like,
It's a good
seems
point.
crazy to me.
I'm not sure that happiness is really all that conducive to making a whole lot of money, like the kind of money. I think that for the most part, unhappy people tend to buy more stuff. So I think I'm not saying that there's anything strategic going
What are
on
you trying
there,
to say?
but I am saying that, you know, to a large extent, products and services are often marketed from a position of highlighting your problems.
Well,
in order to
hence
sell you
the
something.
rat race, which we're going to talk about
Yeah.
later in the show. But
Well-
first, oh, sorry, do you have something to say?
Well, let's
Take a look at the rewind.
There it is.
There we go.
You never know what God put in your life to do. You never know, and that's really the truth. You never know.
You never know. God put us in the same elevator. That is really how we met.
It's
Very
a
well
fact.
I'm Chinese, you know, I'm first generation born here, Asian American, so, you know, you're kind of taught to like, go, 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 study hard, work hard, you know, it gets you to where you need to go, and, you know, you burn long hours, and that brings you success, but that's not always the case because it's not a balance, you know, so absolutely, you know, learning to just be present, you know, and being aware and putting that in sort of every little part of what you do.
Right, because it's so easy to say yes, 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 especially when it comes to philanthropy, because you want to help everyone. So you want to say yes, yes, yes. And I'm so guilty of that. I want to people please. I want to do everything for everyone and then put myself last. So what I've finally learned is that I have to put myself and my needs first.
We just break it down for people because a lot of times people are like, how do I do this? And it's such a big topic because our lives are complicated. So simplifying and organizing your life, it has a lot of components.
I love having the conversation of transformation leading us into Wednesday, right? Because to really claim our abundance and our wealth, there's a lot of things we need to transform in our lives, right? Like from the inside out. So I thought it was an incredible conversation, whether it was from our space with Simply Spaced or our soul. It was really great to be able to dive into those conversations.
The art of
such a good point.
simplicity.
Yeah.
So important.
I love that, Jess. I couldn't agree with you more. I think Transformation Tuesday leads really organically and well to Wealth Wednesday, simply because so much about abundance or creating an abundant life, I think, is going beyond your present form, whatever that might be, whether it's in your relationships or whether it's in your financial situation or whether it's in your health. It really is about transcending whatever the current form is.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely,
important.
and in doing that, it's important to choose your people, choose your tribe, choose your products. I recently did a collab with Stila. I'm so excited about. They're a cruelty-free product. I love their liners, their glosses, but their whole hashtag is it's bold, brave, beautiful, and I love that there's messaging in conscious projects that you can choose to really transform your life, to really claim your abundance, to remember when you're putting these things on your face that you are bold, that you are brave, that you are beautiful. And it's important to be able to do that, right?
Yes,
especially
it
on
is.
hashtag Wealth Wednesday.
You epitomized that really well.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
That's right. So let's talk about hashtag Wealth Wednesday. And what we're going to talk about is how to create balance in your life. We started out yesterday by the art of simplicity, and today we're talking about balancing. And it's so interesting. Tell me a little bit about that article you sent.
Yeah, so there's a new book out called Action versus Contemplation by a Stanford professor. I think her name is Blakey Vermeule, something like that. And she basically talks about balancing your action sort of approach with a more contemplative approach to your life. So like most of us are extremely busy, and we're often busy about things that don't necessarily add or contribute to our happiness or success if we really look at it.
Right.
And so there's an invitation there in the book to remember folks like Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, who basically said you should spend more of your life in self-reflection and contemplation.
So true. I remember I was in Bali some years back, and I had been there for 3 weeks, and I had the most amazing, incredible time. We talk about Bali here a lot. And I remember it was the day before I was going to fly back. And I was sitting there, and I was literally crying. I was going, I don't want to go back to that rat race. I remember taking a picture of myself because I wanted to remember that moment of feeling like it just, when you go away from our culture, you get how intense it really is, how it's just a never ending, it's never enough. But I knew I have to come back because my karma and my family and my work to be done is here. But one thing I really want to create for ourselves is creating that balance. And so in that, Blakey says that it's not necessarily that we're overworked that is making us feel exhausted, it's that we don't have true purpose. And when we find purpose, we can work all the time and never feel like we're working and find a balance in it. But I do think that it's really a spiritual issue more than anything.
Totally. I think we've often talked about sort of where action comes from. It often comes from a place of desperation or a place of inspiration. And when it's coming from a place of inspiration, it's in spirit. Literally, you're coming from a place of being in the flow or in the zone or in spiritual, like a spiritual space in God, essentially. And that's much more flow-like, much more organic and effortless. It's much more aligned action. It's much more inspired action. And so I think the invitation, at least for me, is to continue and increasingly come from a place of inspired action that feels effortless and enjoyable, as opposed to like desperate action that feels like I'm trying to compensate for something that I'm not, experiencing on the inside.
Competition, all those things, that like old school way of thinking that we're going to work, we're grinding this, we're competing, we're winning, we're producing. Like it's just doesn't work. For me, it doesn't work.
You know, it's interesting too when I was reading the topic for the day, and it really made me reflect on the guilt that's around not working to that.
That's a good point.
That could be around just being in a state of flow or not taking action in general. Because I think so many times in our American culture, we feel the pressure to run this rat race, right? Further, harder, faster, and not take the moment to really reflect.
Absolutely, Jess. And I think for me, I often wonder, is it working? So whatever it is I'm doing in my life, is it working?
Oh, for most of us, it's not.
Not working.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
That's absolutely right.
Aristotle says that he's believed that contemplation was basically the highest human good, that it is a place that we have divine connection. That so contemplation is so important. And I remember also balance. Like balance is an interesting thing because I'm not balanced at all from day to day. I'm not going to lie. But I remember reading The One Thing, the book by Gary Keller, a profound book. And in that, he redefines what balance is, and I really relate to him. He says that basically you can have balance over the course of a year, and I work much more like that. So I'll work really hard for chunks, and then I will just turn it completely off. I'm very much the same in social. I'll be very social sometimes of the year, and then I'll be very antisocial and become a hermit part. And so for me, I redefined balance, and I got okay with who I am, and I'm not defining it by, at 7 p.m. I stop working, and I'm not that person. I'll work 24/7 sometimes, and then take a break.
I absolutely agree with you. I love the concept that he shares in that book. I think a balance is more of a pendulum. It's like the most effective or efficient productive way of exercise and often high intensity interval training. There's nothing balanced about that. You're all out sprinting for a minute and then you're completely relaxing or resting for a minute. And so, and you burn more calories that way. And I think often our lives, when we look at it from a broad perspective, that would look like balance, but up close, on a day-to-day basis, it may not necessarily look or feel like balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also, who are the people in your life? Like Sergio makes me laugh. He brings balance to my life because I tend to be way too serious. Whenever. So who are the people in your life, and are they bringing balance? Because hopefully there's some different dynamics that people bring into your life around that.
Don't you feel too that I think a lot of this conversation around action versus contemplation is based on this erroneous idea of life being a meritocracy. And it's simply not a meritocracy. If you look around, you see people taking very similar action and getting dramatically different results.
Very true.
Okay, and that in and of itself speaks to, or is an invitation to, self-reflect more, contemplate more. I mean, it only takes one really great idea to be successful in the world. One great idea. You don't have to have 1,000.
Right.
But you know, even listening to that, Rob, I think that people out there are going to say, well, how come if it only takes one great idea, I haven't had any great ideas in 35 years?
Yeah.
I mean, like, then you reflect the guilt on yourself for not being smart enough to come up with a really great idea that's going to change your life.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where contemplation comes in, because we know that if we're trying to do it from a logical mind, we're trying to force that and figure out a good idea, that person clearly has not gone into true contemplation and had it bubble up and had it been a true inspirational, space.
Absolutely, and it is a great question, Jez, and I think that's why I think part of the challenge there is to enjoy contemplation or self-reflection, or I'd go further than that and simply saying, moments of complete stillness and quiet where you're not contemplating or thinking about anything but just enjoying your very presence itself. That's when often the great ideas or creative ideas come. They don't come when you're trying to force them.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
And so,
Doesn't work well.
we've all tried that.
I
It's
failed
like,
a few of those.
oh my
so
gosh, dude, I spent a good decade of my life just forcing everything. So I think there's great value in just sort of seeking out that stillness and that peace and quiet, and then enjoying it for itself, and then seeing what comes from that place.
Right.
Just one
Well,
thought.
we want to know how you find balance in your life. How do you contemplate? Where's that balance for you? You can direct message us. You can also send us questions. You can direct message us on social media, on our personal ones, on Good Morning LaLaLand, whatever. We want to get more engaged in the conversation. We want to know what you want to talk about. Very important here, right?
Absolutely. We'll give you the same answer either way. But
We're right.
that's right. That's right. Very
take a break.
egotistical
I'm
here.
just still figuring it out.
You've got to figure it out, Jez.
Let's take a break and we'll come back and ask our guest.
Hello, Los Angeles. I am your host and producer, Alex Worley, filming inside Focus TV's West Hollywood studio. Welcome to Empowerista, a show dedicated to highlighting female trailblazers and empowering you to turn your barriers into breakthroughs.
Hey guys, I'm Amy Packrat.
And I'm Justin Walter.
And this is What's Good, the show that's dedicated to positive, uplifting news from all over the world.
We are live.
Live from Los Angeles. Welcome to Good Morning LaLaLand. I'm Dr. Erin.
Hi, I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jez Moyer. This is Good Morning LaLaLand, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Now also available on Apple TV and Roku. It's going to be a Good Morning LaLaLand.
Hola, yo soy Gina Moreno y soy una reportera aquí en Los Ángeles. Para mí, mi pasión es para decir las historias de las personas que han luchado lo imposible. Todas las entrevistas aquí en Focus TV. Hi, I'm Gina Moreno, a reporter here in Los Angeles, and my passion is to tell people's stories, the stories of people who have accomplished the impossible. For all the interviews, make sure to watch Focus TV.
Welcome back to Good Morning LALALAND. It's Wealth Wednesday, and we are having the most amazing woman here right now. Sarah Delane is in the house. She's a dear girlfriend of mine. She is a spiritual master, really. You are trained in NLP. She works, she does Tuesday soul circles. You work one-on-one with people, all kinds of things. What else? How else? You're programming, all the above, right? Yes. But we spoke together at Love Made, and you spoke a lot about the balance of the masculine and feminine within.
Yes. And I love your guys' earlier conversation and how it's all about balance. I have 4 planets in Libra. This is I'm good with this
I don't even know what that means.
What does that mean? That means balance is key for me.
Oh, good.
Wow. Right? Balance in relationships, balance in work, in life, you know. And I love how you equally said, you know, how we have relationships with everything. So we have relationships with ourselves, but then we do it with business, with money, with spirit, you know. So keeping that balance is key to ultimately, I feel like, living in your purpose, living in alignment, and making sure that you're, I guess, really living a life of ultimate fulfillment, right?
Absolutely love that, and I couldn't agree more that, and Erin said it really well earlier, that when you're clear about your purpose, often balance seems to work itself out to a large extent, right? Yeah. How did you discover your purpose?
I believe, honestly, that it's an ongoing process, right? So I don't think that you can ever quantify your purpose, right? Like you can, for me, it's getting in touch with that higher energy, whether you
But Sarah, take us back to the actual moment. I know that you had something specifically happen to you that brought you on this journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, I believe you do have life transitions that lead you on another path. And if that's what you're talking about, I had a near-death experience in my mid-20s, and that sort of, like, whatever path I was on, it was like, nope, you're not going that way. And it really felt like an energetic force that was like guiding me toward a totally different direction. And everybody has free will, so ultimately then it was my choice to, do I follow this, or in this sort of heart calling, or do I suppress that and, you know, follow the what I should do or shouldn't do, or what everybody expects you to do, you know, that kind of thing.
So what made you choose the
what
heart
made me choose?
choice? Yeah.
It became overwhelming, and I think I sat with myself, and I remember the moment where I was like, okay, if I don't do this, I either do this now or I'm never gonna do it. That was the first thing. And then I said, if I don't do this, then like, I didn't feel like I would be truly aligning with something that felt bigger than me, if that makes sense.
So what was your first step in taking action towards something that was bigger than you?
What was my first step?
Yeah.
Packing up my stuff, selling the rest of it, and moving to Sedona.
It's a good place. Literally the vortex.
Yeah,
literally.
that takes so much courage, though. I mean, you really, truly like flipped a switch and transformed your life.
Yeah, I was completely scared out of my mind.
Was it hard?
That's an interesting statement. I think it was hard and easy at the same time. You know, so talking about balance again, right? Like, yes, there's a little bit where you're like, okay, you feel like you're on the edge of that cliff, and you're like, I'm literally having a panic attack because you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know whether you have wings to fly. You realize after you jump off, like that's when you grow them, right? You don't have them before. No, but that wouldn't involve trust in self and trust in, I guess, a higher energy, right? Or aligning to that higher energy, which I believe is ultimately you anyways.
That speaks to me so deeply, because there's very few times in my life that I thought I've heard the voice of God or the universe or whatever it is. And I was so afraid to take a certain risk because I was going to crash and burn. I was like, and I was praying, God, give me a parachute, because if I fall, this might kill me. And I heard so clearly, you already have wings.
Yeah.
Stop asking for a parachute. You already have wings. Just fly. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, game changer.
Yeah,
literally.
You're like,
oh
my God, I heard you. You have wings, but that's so incredible to me that you had the same message. You took that risk. What has been the best, like, greatest reward in doing that for you?
Everything. Absolutely everything. I wouldn't. I mean, you know, maybe looking back in hindsight, I'd be like, okay, I'd choose that, or maybe I'd choose it sooner, right? And yet at the same time, there's divine timing. So like you show up when, and everything is supported to have you be in alignment, right? And yet at the same time, I wouldn't change anything. I feel like I'm living more in fulfillment now than I think. Before, I felt like I was living my life through a keyhole, and I thought there were only a few possibilities for me, right? And I was like very passionate about them, and yet at the same time, I was like, okay, now I'm more expanded, right? There was this essence of, I don't know, maybe you've had that feeling of like trying to fit yourself into a box, square peg in a round hole, right? Being in the industry, it's very much like that. Like you have to look this way, you have to talk this way, you have to be, you know,
be this person for this role. Yeah,
yes.
You can't just be yourself.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So take us forward to now, you found that balance, you love your life, you're working with clients.
Yeah.
How does the masculine and feminine helping them balance that help balance their life?
Yes. So I believe that everyone has a balance of masculine and feminine within them, right? Gay, straight, man, woman, doesn't matter. And so for instance, you know, there's a lot of women who are, you know, stepping into more of that empowering role, right? Really stepping into their confidence, and they want to grow a business. They want to also then have a thriving romantic relationship, right? And so some things with that might be more masculine energy that you would need to growing a business and pursuing that and taking action, that then isn't so beneficial to bring into a relationship side of things, right? Because the universe ultimately also wants to create balance. So if you're running more, let's say either masculine or feminine energy, the universe will then bring to you the balance of whatever is opposite to you.
How do you maintain that balance?
How do you maintain the balance of the masculine and feminine specifically? To me, it really comes down to, you know, and I created this blueprint and we used that, right? Called Mastering Masculine and Feminine Alchemy. What it really boils down to is resistance or being in flow. So if you have resistance around anything, right, then granted you're also in resistance to a resource that's within you, right? So you're not being your true self or divinity or your most authentic self, right? If we have both and you have resistance to something that's already within you, then you're only in resistance to yourself.
Very true. We say it's like almost like there's a lie. If there's any area that's being stuck or blocked, or you feel you know, empowered, it's because there's a limiting belief.
Yes.
You don't believe there's a lie going on.
Yes.
Yep.
And then that follows up with your emotional state, and everything else goes out the window.
I love this. I love this conversation. I once read, all resistance boils down to a thought that I'm not one with God. And that's all resistance.
That's the truth.
It's a simple thought, right? Yeah.
Right.
Go straight to truth.
So, question: Does this balance look different for every individual? Is it something that's
everybody's? Because you have literally, you know, there are many different energies within the masculine and different energies within the feminine. So one person's chart could look totally different than somebody else's on the scale of masculine, feminine, and the specifics within that field. So
what practices have been most critical to you in your journey?
What practices? Maintaining emotional alignment.
Yeah. How do you do that?
How do I maintain emotional alignment? I check in with myself often, right? I feel like there's a part of me that is experiencing something, and then there's a part of me that's the observer that's observing me doing whatever that is, right? So whenever, you know, it's all a process and a journey. So whenever, you know, I might even be in an emotional funk, right? As we all do. I'm half experiencing it and then half observing it. And if I can bring myself more to the observer, then I have conscious choice.
Love that.
Yeah, I think I forget who it was. It said it, but basically
Young?
the idea was that could have been, right. Could have said the idea was that we're always 100% in alignment, and sometimes we're aware of it, and sometimes we're not. When we're aware of it, we call it alignment. When we're not aware of it, we call it resistance.
So true.
We're always there.
Yeah.
So I just love you sharing.
That was a hard concept for me to get. It's we're always in alignment.
Oh,
What do you
always
mean?
in alignment.
Yeah. It's like
thought in a way.
serendipity versus zemblanity. Like we
Right.
feel like, but we're always manifesting. We're always in alignment. It's just we may not want to have the experience of the alignment we're in. We're in the alignment of crap right now. It was awesome.
But then either way, that's still a choice too.
Right.
You're either choosing not to be in alignment or choosing to be in alignment. Or you're just kind of driving your car in a straight line, or you're like, okay, I'm gonna go kamikaze over here and like go off-roading for a minute and then I'll find my way back eventually.
But balance again, you know, in LA, I was asked the question by Paul Dolman, and he said, can you really stay connected, you know, to source in LA? And I go, well, it's a question I ask myself every day, right? Because it's a little bit more challenging with all the Wi-Fi. How do you find balance, truly? Because you do have clients, you have, you know, live streams, you have events you're speaking at. How do you, when you say enough is enough, I got to do me for a little bit?
That kind of goes a little back to, you know, what I said even this morning. Like I'm very specific about my morning ritual. I'm like, that time is for me to sort of fill my cup back up before I go out and then be of service to then supporting other people, right? So I think that's important for all of us. And as far as the balance of when to sort of have that, I don't want to say pushing energy, right? But the sort of take action energy, and then that sort of flow when you want to like back off and like lean into it. I actually follow the moon's energy with that.
Well, she's got 4 Libra moons. So
There's
a lot happening with that.
Something interesting earlier too, and it sort of harkens back to the idea of like non-doership, right? Which is the idea, the scriptural idea that sort of like I can of myself do nothing, that it's something larger, greater than me, that I'm also one with, that does something through me. And when I hear athletes talk or entertainers talk, they often talk about being almost a non-doer, that the action happens through them but not by them. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I love the connection there.
So my first instinct is to say, I don't think you're ever not doing anything. And yet, to balance it, there is a process of setting your intention for something, right? And what energy you want to sort of push out and intend to do. And then there's that like, okay, let me lean back and allow. And if that's allowing for an inspiration to come down through you from your higher self, from God, from consciousness, whatever your term is for it, then yeah, there's like this, you know, it's kind of like driving a stick shift, you know? Like you have to hit the gas, and then when you want to shift, like you have to let off the gas and hit the clutch, you know?
That's a good one.
That's great, I totally get it.
So wait, we want to know about the moons though. The full moon was like yesterday, the day before, right? So is there some special moon, or if I'm not I don't keep up on all that.
Right.
So tell us.
No, basically, you know, and ancients and experts have been using, you know, astrology, but also the energy of the moon. And maybe I do because it's around, you know, the moon influences your emotions, right?
Of course. I mean, and who could deny that?
Of course. And I personally believe that your emotions are your most powerful, right? Aside from the mindset, right? I believe that our power center is through emotions. And so we're getting influence constantly. And the moon has a waxing period for 2 weeks and then a waning period for 2 weeks. So literally that sort of gas on and then like gas off.
Does this happen every month? This moon thing? Wow. I didn't know. I don't know. I gotta ask.
That was the most amazing question I've ever heard. Yes, the moon cycles every month.
Well, now we know.
Influence
Now
though,
we know.
Jazz, you're right. The influence.
Yes,
I think
the
that's the
influence,
piece.
the planetary influence, yes.
I think that's
There's
the
different.
because we're all clear that, you know, the moon rotates and revolves around.
Yes, clearly I know that. But I'm
It's the point around the
wondering.
influence.
Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome,
But it was good.
Awesome.
I got you, Jazz. I got you.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you like. I think the full moon was in Pisces, I think. So yes, there's different influences every time we have the cycle.
Okay.
Yes, and then also, of course, how it influences you, right? And I'm not an astrologer, right? And yet I empower others and empower that work to sort of, you know, kind of check in. Like, to be honest, whenever I don't feel imbalance, I check in with myself emotionally, but I also check sort of what's going on with the planets because they do influence us. You know, you can call it woo-woo, or you can just be like, okay, that's real.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not know that we're connected to the stars? I mean, I get like the interpretation of astrology may be a little bit wacky.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, we're, what, 70% water, and the moon is all the, like, I don't know,
the tides,
crazy.
There's
Well, there's lots of teachers that simply say we just are simply stardust. That's all we are. We're just stardust.
Yes. I believe that we are suits, right? We have this consciousness that is a body, and it's we have a relationship with our body, and then our spirit, soul, you know, you can analyze that all you want, but ultimately that essence sort of comes into the body, and then we're having the experience through that. And whatever you choose to have that experience, you know, ultimately, like, for me, it's finding what that fulfillment is, right? So even if you have a job that maybe you don't love, right? Finding that thing, you know, and you were all talking earlier about finding your purpose. I believe that is ultimately, if you can find that, then that will help you create a balance in anything. Find your purpose and have a balance in your romantic relationships. Find your purpose, you're gonna have a balance in your business. Hopefully those go hand in hand too, you know?
So where can people work with you? How can they find you?
Go to my Instagram.
Best place.
Best place. I do so much more connecting to that community over there and really building a community. So, and yes, as you mentioned, every Tuesday is Soul Circle. It's an Instagram live Q&A.
7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
Be
Pacific
there
Standard
or be square.
Time. Yeah,
no pun intended.
Thank you. Yes, so Sarah is SERAHDLAINE. So Sarah Delane. And yeah, bring your questions. It's a wonderful community that we're helping just to, you know, level up the consciousness. You know, I like to say that everybody sort of comes with their questions, and in order to, you know, find out more about what's going on for them, and yet at the same time, you know, each aha moment that someone has, whether it's a question they've asked or somebody else asked that they didn't know that they had, then that aha moment helps to level up the cultural community, if you will, of our whole collective consciousness.
Right.
Level up.
Thank you so much. That's
Great.
right.
That's Sarah Delane. Yes.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Simone, associate producer here at Focus TV Network, America's first live streaming daily talk show network with my favorite girl.
I'm Jessica Lee, producer and co-host of Good Morning LaLaLand. So Victoria, tell me what happened this week in Focus?
So we had the Ren Wood Show
with the hilarious Ben Glebe.
Yeah, we had Mama Tix
with Harley Ruda, the potential next congressman of California.
Oh, we had Dr. Nina actually in the house.
It was an incredible show. Meredith O'Connor was here. You've definitely seen her on YouTube. And we also had Cole Woods, the modelpreneur.
We have 2 new exciting shows. Some of them you may know from the Bachelor franchise. We had Josh Murray, Naked Chats. Yes,
and Josh Murray.
We had Demario Jackson in the hot seat.
We're so excited to welcome Lindsay Palis to the Focus family. She's got a new show, Eyes Up Here, and had a very special guest, Drama.
Speaking of Lindsay Palis, she was on Good Morning LaLaLand.
Yes, she was. We had a week full of very special guests. We also had a reality star from Real Housewives of Orange County, Gretchen Rossi.
Another Real Housewives of Orange County, we had Peggy Tanos.
And the jet guy, Hunter Gaylor. He is a man with a plan and a plane.
We had a special episode of Good Morning LaLaLand.
We did. It was co-hosted by Dr. Sandra Lee. You may know her as Dr. Pimple Popper. She brought in a slew of amazing industry guests. I'm so excited for you to take a look.
Have a divine day.
It's going to be a Good Morning LaLaLand. And of course, we have a lot of fun here at Focus TV. We have a blooper reel hosted by Brittany Zonk.
The change is starting happening. It's nope, bad take. Nope, nope. Oh, sorry, I messed up. I was talking to the guest. It's a little fast. I bet you don't have one of those in your phone. Nope. Andy's like, damn it, I'm doing things over here. Usually I'm a one-hit wonder with my videos, but right now, how many takes are we on, Andy? Woo! Okay. I think it's maybe take 12. Nope, messed up one word at the end. It's gonna drive me insane. Listen, I've never done so many takes in my life on one video. That was a good one. Good? You like that one? Are we gonna do a blooper reel? Andy's like, you're already on all of them.
Thank you so much for tuning into This Week in Focus.
We're hashtag community powered.
3, 2,
Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Miss Gina Hendricks to the show. She's a top matchmaker in the industry. It's very exclusive. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So nice to meet you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
So on hashtag Wealth Wednesday, we talk about abundance, and it's so important to have an abundance of love in our lives, right?
Yes.
So tell us about your journey to mastering it, to becoming the matchmaker you are.
Oh gosh, that's a big question there. All right, let me tackle this. You know, I was always one of those people that was obsessed with, like one of those women that, you know, a lot of women are, obsessed with my own love life, obsessed with finding love, obsessed with boys. I was boy crazy my whole life. And so I was a celebrity stylist for 10 years, and that was great, but I just felt this calling to connect people. I've just always been a connector. And then obsessed with the whole how do people meet and connect in LA. So for me, I just followed that passion. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, but I stuck with it. And I don't know, did that answer your question?
So we've had some incredible matchmakers on, and we've heard really incredible things about you. I'm curious to know something, because you're known for billionaire or celebrity matchmaker. And we've talked about the difference between being transactional versus transcending in relationships, meaning that a lot of times people they want the rich guy, or they want the trophy girl, or whatever it is.
Right.
And most of the time it doesn't end in a very fulfilling relationship.
Right.
Maybe it's fine for people who choose that's fine. But there's transcending relationships where we're really taking relationships as a medium for expanding, healing, and growing and birthing something to the world.
Are you in it for love or money?
Right?
Yeah.
So what do you
Great
think
question.
about that?
Love it.
How do you deal with that with clients? Where do you go, okay, this is a transactional relationship versus this person really wants to transcend, or do you do both?
That's an easy question to answer, because I think what's a little misleading about my business, just because of the type of clients I work with, is what's really important to know is that my whole business is very integrity based. So, you know, because my fee is quite substantial, that is sort of what pre-qualifies the clients as perhaps they have enough money to hire me. But what's also really important to know is that I don't always work with clients that I don't believe are looking for a real, true relationship. And when I say clients, I mean men, because it's only men who hire me. And I really have to genuinely like the guys. I have to feel like they are in alignment with my own integrity. I mean, I don't expect everybody to have the highest level of integrity that I have, because that's not fair. But they certainly have to be genuine and real, and I have to feel like they're really looking for a sincere, honest relationship. So therefore, I only work with the best of the best guys. And that's where it starts.
So you got billionaires also are really conscious. We like them. We bring them
When you only work with 7 clients ever at a time, you don't need that many. You know what I mean? So, and that is what allows me to turn clients away, which I do very easily. Yes.
I love that.
That's where it starts. Sure.
What's been the most helpful thing you've learned in this journey of building that as a business? Because I think it would be challenging.
Honestly, I think that, because I do think about this a lot, because I love to try to empower women and try to teach them how to, because I reinvented myself on this journey. And I would say it starts with integrity. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it really does. Because I find, and when you guys were saying this at the beginning of the show, about desperation and following your passion and all of those things, I find that when someone is desperate, you can't really trust them, right? So if somebody's desperate for something, so therefore you have to follow your passion and you have to lead with integrity. So when I started my business, of course, as you start any new business, you're sort of, to use the word desperate, you're in need of clients, right? But I don't think you should ever sacrifice your integrity for your business.
But how do you do that when you're looking for love too? Because so many times, you know, I can only speak as a woman, and girlfriends in my life, we feel so desperate. We feel like we're lacking love. We're desperate for that. We want that. We crave that.
Well, I think, not to sound, you know, I'm not a very hippy-dippy person. I'm pretty straightforward, but to sound a little hippy-dippy, I mean, you do have to love yourself first, you know what I mean? And, you know, I've met plenty of people who love themselves too much, so you don't want to go that degree where you're a total narcissist, right? But you do want to love yourself, and you want to be passionate about something outside yourself. And I think taking the focus off you, like you love yourself enough to be passionate about, I don't know, charitable causes or or whatever it is that empowers you, I think that will help you feel fulfilled enough so that you don't feel desperate. You're not one of those people, I don't want to just use the word women, but you're not one of those people that are out in the world just desperately looking for love, because nobody wants that. Yeah. Nobody wants someone desperate, right?
One of my favorite quotes is, what you're looking for is where you're looking from.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge piece here. And I love what you said sort of about the, folks that seem overly self-loving or narcissistic, because we know that deep down inside they're really deeply empty, right?
Yes, and I can read that very clearly, and so a lot of people, just dealt with this with someone, someone appeared to be like so self-loving and evolved, and then slowly but surely you just start to notice it's just constantly all about them and about you all the time. It's well, you're never going to get into a healthy relationship that way. It has to be give and take. And you have to believe in whatever it is you're deeply, profoundly passionate about and motivated by.
I love the way you sort of describe sort of both purpose and the happiness and everything that you want to have, and the self-love that you need to have in order to attract somebody into your life that can meet you there, right in that place. Yeah. I also love what you talk about when you talk about integrity, and I think integrity and balance, they sound to me very similar in a way. By integrity, what do you mean?
Oh, I love that question, which is going to make me have to dig deep here. Let's see. By integrity, you know what I mean? Having standards. I just did a post recently on I have a new Instagram, and I did a post recently about it, and I said, be someone who cannot be bought. Which is interesting.
Amen.
We live in a town where so many people are willing to compromise.
I have a price tag, I'm not going to lie.
All right.
Just kidding now.
All right. Well,
just joking.
I don't, but whatever. So, because I deal with it all the time. I've lived in Los Angeles a very long time, and every day in LA specifically, and other places as well, we could either take the high road or the low road, and it's usually based around money or helping someone achieve success. And so I think that if you just hold tight to your principles and your values, I think that's integrity.
Yeah.
For me, it is.
I think that's all wealth, right? So I think real wealth, true wealth, is something that could be.
I agree.
Right.
Totally
that's
agree.
True wealth.
Yes.
Right? So you work with folks that are wealthy in both ways. They have lots of money often, right? But they're also wealthy in integrity, wealthy in something that can't be bought or sold.
And they're all different. I mean, they're not like these like spiritual guru guys necessarily. They're all different, corporate or very down to earth. They're all different, but what I have to first find in my clients is kindness and sincerity before I'll work with them. So
interesting.
And kindness is king or queen, as the case may be.
And listen, as you work with people, different things come up. So it's not like they're saints. But but none of us have to like them a lot. I have to believe in them.
It's got to be such an interesting thing, though, because how do you look at the balance of their personality versus what their lifestyle is versus how to have a relationship? There's so many things that have to align. How do you deal with the balance of all that?
So how do I deal with the balance of matching them, or how do I?
Yeah, matching them. How do you?
That's hard.
Right?
That's what you get paid the big bucks for.
You're an expert. Honestly. Well, listen. I think if somebody tells you it's not hard, they're not being honest, right? So it's very hard, which is why, for me, I only like working with 7 to 8 clients at a time. I have to keep it small because it's not easy. And how I do it is, it's a process. I have a great eye because it starts with what I'm looking for externally for the client. I mean, and women have their preferences physically as well. So it has to start there, but then quickly it moves to all the inner qualities that my client is looking for, plus it has to match with what the woman is looking for.
It's profound. I think that matchmaking has got to be one of the most complex and challenging professions and businesses in the world.
Not kidding.
Yes, because what people say they want and what they actually want are very different things often.
True.
Right? Because we do a lot of these like subjective self-assessments and say, what are you looking for in love? And they'll say, oh, A, B, and C. And it turns out they want apples, oranges, and like yellow.
A lot of times. I mean, what's interesting I've seen happen over the years is that you'll see 2 people who look like they match on paper, but then in person, they're not a match at all. And then you'll see two people on paper who you'd say, oh, I'm never going to match those two. They will never work. And then somehow they've organically met in the real world. I've known this to happen many times, and they're boom off in love. And I was like, why did that happen?
It's so interesting because I've gone on the paper dates. On paper, that guy is perfect for me.
Right.
And I cannot stand his company. He is almost intolerable. And I thought, what's wrong here? But you know what? I made the assumption that I got my paper wrong. That I was assuming what
you were reading
wanted.
into. Right.
Yeah, what I wanted was this person, and it was totally wrong for me.
I think a lot of times that's what happens when people, you know, are using the apps or online dating. A lot of times I think people rule people out based on exactly what they read, and that's where I'm able to come in with my clients and sort of say, you know, listen, this person is so much more than what you would read on paper, or so much more than what you see when you look at Instagram, or people want to put judgments on people. And a big part of what I do is I'm the middleman that helps.
So I'm curious to know what you find in people that dating, because I find that one of the things I witness with people that seem to never be able to find somebody to date is that they're always finding something wrong, like nitpicking the little things. And I think it's interesting in your profession, because I would imagine that you notice right away there's a consciousness that people just enjoy and find all the great things about people, and there are other people that always find something wrong with everybody.
Amen to that one.
Right. Well, so, and without putting them in category, because I think also dating's challenging, because when you're looking for the one, you put too much pressure on something that can just naturally bloom, and those little things, that the quirks are the things that you end up falling in love with.
It's interesting. I'm glad you said that, because what I've also noticed through the years of having my business is that those clients, there's just been some magic that certain clients bring with them. And it kind of is start to finish. Like, they sign up with me very easily. They take a leap of faith in. They're not like, you know, second guessing me on who they should go out with. They literally, you know, hop aboard the train and they're ready to go. And what I've seen happen in those instances is that I'm able to like see success with them really fast. I mean, the most recent happened in the spring when I set this guy up. The first girl I set him up with, they're still like all in there dating. He's not gone out with anybody else. But it's weird. It's a flow. It's an energy. These guys have open energy, and there's some guys, I'm talking guys because the guys are my clients, have this energy that's like holding on a little bit too tight.
Oh, it's so profound. I think any of us in the helping profession, really any business, that resonates with us. I know that for me, like as a coach, for the longest time, people would call and say, hey, can I have a free session? I said, of course, let's have it, you know, get a little experimental session in. And then they'd ask questions, and then I would try to sell them, and then like after a period of time, it was exhausting, and I gave all that up. So now when people say, can I have a free session, or I have a couple questions, I'm like, you know what, I'm probably not right for you. I'm really not. Because the people that sign up right away are the ones who love what I have to offer.
It's so true.
And the ones that have 1,000 questions coming in generally can't enjoy or appreciate what I have to offer, no matter how great a job I do.
Right, I know, and it's frustrating, and it's frustrating to see those people that you know you can help, and usually it's the people that kind of need the help the most that are most resistant to it.
Oh, the irony.
The irony.
Isn't it ironic?
True, though.
It is.
Very true.
True and
So
love,
true.
work.
Wow.
Very
so
true.
how can people work with you? Where can they find you?
Oh, they can, let's see, they can go to my website. My company's called Exclusive Introductions, but the URL is exclusiveinla.com. Exclusiveinla.com. Let's see.
You've got a hot new Instagram?
I've got a hot new Instagram. It's called The Gina Hendricks on Instagram. And my Twitter that I'm being better about doing now is Gina Hendricks. So that's how you find me.
Well, we'll have to have you back on a Friday when we talk a lot about dating, love, and relationship. Everyone, we love this conversation.
Yes, we do.
So
We'll continue.
I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff.
Stay tuned.
You guys
We'll
are
be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.
Roll.
Drum roll, please. Part of the Focus TV family, Ms. Kelly Gores is gracing the cover this month. She is the filmmaker behind the Heal documentary. We have a very special interview with Mr. Mark Teschner, Ellen Racketon, and of course some incredible people. We even have a special video about it as well. It's very near and dear to my heart because this issue, I actually was the managing editor.
You did so much work, Jazz.
Yeah,
Big shout out to Andy and you and everyone that has been involved for sure.
Thank you, Andy, for the opportunity to be such an active part in this community.
Speaking of empowerment, Jeslyn, you crushed it.
Right?
Wow,
boy.
thank you, Rob.
You are a power player, girl.
I really appreciate that. I couldn't do it without the both of you. You are my enlightenment. You are my life school every morning. So thank you for letting me be a part of your community.
So for people that haven't seen the documentary, let's just give them a little overview of what is the documentary. We're going to show the trailer in a minute, but from your perspective, tell them a little bit about it.
Yes, so the film, the film is basically showing people how incredible the body is and how we're designed to heal, and how big of an impact our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions have on our physical body. So, as you guys were mentioning before, those 9 healing essentials that people, tapped into, only 2 of them are physical. The rest were mental, emotional, and spiritual. So that I look at as kind of the ratio for what you need. If you want to heal physically, you really need to bring in the emotional and mental factors. And we see it in the placebo effect, how what you believe affects your biochemistry and your physiology. So belief and the mind-body connection is very powerful.
Good morning, La La Land, and we have the huge honor of being with Lillian Garcia.
Oh my God.
This month, gracing the cover of the Influence issue
Look at
of
that.
Forbes magazine. Thank you so much for being
It's a beautiful
here.
picture.
So gorgeous.
Holy crow. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is really crazy. I mean,
It's beautiful.
you guys have no
It is.
idea what this means to me.
It does?
Yeah, it does. I tear up like so easy sometimes, but no, this is great. Thank you.
Of course, is the cover. Gorgeous.
Oh my God,
gorgeous
that
cover.
is so awesome.
And we have another little surprise for you, which is your article within the magazine. This is
so amazing. Holy moly, what is going on? Oh my
biggie.
God.
Oh,
When I'm out of town, I will leave that for my husband.
Welcome back to Good Morning, La La Land. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Ron Robinson, the founder of Ron Robinson, fashion icon. I mean, here in Los Angeles, you are a legend.
Fred Siegel, Morrow, Ron Robinson. It's like a weekly go-to.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much because it's been, this year we're celebrating 40 years of being in business, which is, and listening to the 2 young ladies before about how things evolve and all the things that you need to do. And it's, I mean, I would love to talk about all of those things. We're very fortunate. We've done a lot of really cool things over the years and a lot of great memories.
So tell us your personal story. How did you get into the industry?
I came to Los Angeles in 1968 and I had to get a job and I wanted to be here. And my history of my parents, my grandparents were all merchants, so I knew how to do that. And I got a job in a clothing store. A friend of mine was working for Fred Siegel, and I eventually got a job there. And I became a salesperson, and then a manager, and a vice president of the company, and then I leased my own store. I opened my own store at the location on Melrose Avenue. And since we have another location in Santa Monica as well, and a website and a lot of other things that have created over the years.
There's so much history with Fred Siegel, but why the loyalty?
It's interesting. That's part of, I think it's part of, yes, we have to have the greatest product. We have to have something new and unique that we can bring to the customer that they're not going to find elsewhere. I've got a particular little focus that I take care of to get that done. We can talk about that. But the other part is the relationships that we've built with the customer directly. That's really key. I have customers today who have been my customer since 1978. I just talked to Billy Crystal, for example, was just in the store, in my Santa Monica store. He and Janice have been shopping with us since 1975 when I worked for Fred. There's a whole group, but I really think that relationship building is part of it, and that's what we want to teach to our team on the floor rather than, it's not about just selling a product.
Well, it's art, really, and you do have traditional art as well, but when you walk in your store, it's an experience. And you never plan on buying anything. You know, it's just the fact, like, and it happens, you know, but it's
that means
more,
it's really good.
Yeah,
Yes.
right? It's really, it is the ultimate window shopping that turns into something else. Because, and also all the people that work in your stores they're artists themselves generally or whatever, so it's a real great experience.
There is a big part of it as an art form, and I try to teach that as well. I try to express it. Don't you know, we have to first know our product 100%. We have to know the narrative of what is the essence of that product, and every product has a narrative to it. It has a story, who made it, why they make it, how it's made. All of those things, and not just apparel. It could be home design, it could be cosmetic and beauty, it could be jewelry. All of those things have the narrative, and we want to talk about that. I want to have that interaction that you talked about, that you come in and you fall in love with something. I just have to have that because that's wonderful, and that takes just a little part of maybe urging you along, but not selling you. You're going to want to buy that.
It's creating the experience of almost like this utopia, this world where everything has a story, where everything's curated, where things really do speak to you. And really, Ron Robinson and Fred Siegel is one of the few places, I think, in the world that have done it with such success. I mean, how many department stores do you hear in pop songs or rock songs?
Right.
Fred Siegel's dropped in all of them. You know, there's something truly special about that, and about you, Ron.
It's interesting. The years. I'm thinking about so many things you just said. It's crazy. I'm writing a lot of these memoirs down now, because to celebrate the 40 years, I've got a bunch of stories, and I've been pushed by Karen Mina, who's our fashion director now, and she's been with me 24 years. She says, you've got to write them down. My wife says, you've got to write them down. So we're doing that. We're creating a whole memoir. It'll come out in about, let's see, we're in September. It'll come out in October or November. We're planning to finish it and have it out. And we'll celebrate our anniversary of 40 years there in both our Melrose store and our Santa Monica store. But these stories are incredible as I think back on them. Some of the things that have happened and some of the ways that I'm hesitant to sort of drop names, but,
sure, but
you know, we do have an incredible clientele.
But what have you learned about yourself through all these stories and these memoirs? And
that I'm never done, that I'm never finished. I've always got and I've got to reinvent myself, both personally and as our retail store, all the time, especially in this market. And you mentioned the stores that all of these stores that aren't there now, that maybe have gone by the wayside and we've been able to maintain for 40 years. It's an accomplishment in itself, and somebody has to remind me of it because I don't see it that way, but I'm being reminded of it often enough that the art form, the creativity of being able to find something new within yourself and then be able to expose it. For example, you mentioned art in a traditional, literal sense. In our new flagship in Santa Monica, I took it because it had these big walls, and it had a courtyard in it. And it just immediately spoke to me about what new things we could do there. We could be not only a fashion, but we could, be an art gallery. And we're hanging art every 6 weeks. A new artist comes that we exhibit, and many of them, most of them, are Los Angeles based. We're very focused on how to bring unique people that are Los Angeles based into the marketplace.
now you've got a marketplace online.
We have a marketplace online.
Tell us about that.
I went online actually in 1994. 1994 or 1995. And I was urged to do so because somebody said, well, you've got to be online. And this was the time when the internet was just being developed, and there was no business model that really was successful at the time. It was, people were going up online and they were going down. And we did it, and thank goodness I did, because we actually used that in 1999. I used that internet. We had a fragrance that we were exclusive on. I bought every bottle that the maker had. She was making it in her kitchen, and we sold it, and we sold it, and we sold it, and we went online, and it so happened that there was an interview with a wonderful actress from Beverly Hills 90210, and it was a Q&A, and she said, I bought this stuff at Ron Robinson, and she called it stuff. The question was, what fragrance are you wearing? And she said, I'm wearing this stuff that I got at Ron Robinson, and when I wear it, my boyfriend's wild. And our phones went wild. And our phones went wild. And thank goodness we went on the internet at that time.
World Wide Web.
Because then we got all this, and the retailer in me said, uh-oh, that's a problem. Here's people all over the country buying this fragrance. They've never smelled it. I know I'm going to get every bottle back.
Oh, no.
Which I didn't.
Of course.
Which I didn't. And the next creative energy was to think about, I've got now all of these people online across the United States that have bought fragrance. I know they're going to change fragrance at some point. I created a fragrance online, communicating with 100 women across the United States. No one has done it before. We actually created a fragrance. It took 8.5 months. And just this morning, I want to say this, I just got we're now distributed. We sell in Barney's, it's called If, and we sell it in Barney's, and we sell it at Montage Resort. But just this morning, I got an email from our Japanese distributor that we were just nominated as Vogue Japan, as a Vogue Japan nominee for beauty.
All right, well, congratulations.
Congratulations, Ron.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
in that celebration and in the balance of today's topic, you leave tomorrow to celebrate. Tell us just a little bit about that.
That's the other part. You know, here's the part that you've been talking about so beautifully. I mean, I just wanted to, I was standing listening, going, oh, yeah, yes, whatever she said. And it's the balance of now in my time in life, and before, it should have been before, but it wasn't as much as now. It's the balance of time versus money, if you break it down to two words, you know, and we have to take care of ourselves too and have a wonderful vacation time or time to reconnect ourselves. And we're going tomorrow. We've got a little boat that we rented with six couples, and we're going to the Greek islands, and then we'll go to Cinque Terre, Portofino in Italy.
It's a bucket list.
Yeah,
bucket list, right? Congratulations. You've worked hard.
It's about
celebrating
time.
40 years, and it's an icon place. Saturdays, we go to Kundalini Yoga. We go to Maro Cafe. We go and do a little shopping.
Great.
It's a total LA 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 Land.
Thank you.
For sure.
I love that.
Go there, have fun, do some shopping.
Enjoy the vacation.
Yeah.
I just read an article about vacation, and they said the more vacations you take, the longer you live.
Well, then I plan to take a lot of vacations.
Right? Very long.
And I plan to get my bottle of If. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.
Welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. It's Wealth Wednesday, and we're talking all things wealth and balance. So the question of the day is, when do you feel most in balance in your life? Is there one thing that you do that helps you feel or rediscover, I suppose, balance in your life? Yeah.
Start with me?
Sure. Sure.
I have to say it's when I'm with my dogs and when I'm out walking them in nature. I usually don't bring my phone, and it's a time, and usually we're out for 45 minutes or an hour, and I'm completely disconnected and connecting with them and connecting with just everything in nature. So that's what gives me balance.
Do you ever suddenly realize, oh, I found a match? These two people would be perfect together when you're out there walking.
Sometimes, yeah. And then I go, shoot, I don't have a car.
Fair enough.
But then I get their number.
Okay,
So.
fair enough. What about you, Esther?
I feel like I'm always trying to create like little mini meditations, right? Like you have your traditional meditation, which obviously helps you get realigned. But, you know, honestly, sometimes the thing that's really most fulfilling for me is like going and getting a really amazing book and going and sitting on the grass and just relaxing and kind of feeding the mind and feeding the body and the soul.
Do you have a favorite author?
No, not yet. I balance between reading something that's educational around business and then reading something that's spiritual or mindset or something like that.
Love that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Ron?
I too enjoy the idea of coming home in the evening and putting on the shorts and taking a walk to dinner with Stacy, and it really it's a pretty wonderful moment when you just breathe in the air. We moved to the canals in Venice, and it would.
You're me.
Do I?
Yeah.
We're neighbors.
We're totally neighbors.
Oh, you're that dog lady?
That would be me.
Well, my dog's always barking at me. and it's that ability to just take the deep breath and walk and watch the sunset. It really just centers me. I have a difficult time otherwise because my mind's always going, but those moments are very special.
Absolutely. Love that.
Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for being with us this morning. We are Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. You can listen to all your favorite interviews as a podcast on iTunes.
That's right. We're waking up the world together. Have a wonderful Wealth Wednesday, claiming our birthright of prosperity. Have a great day.
It's going to be a Good Morning La La Land.